New intelligence documents examining more than 140 UFO sightings have been released. According to the report, some UAPs are likely, quote, physical objects due to the range of sensors that have recorded them. The report also says additional analysis may put these UAPs into one of 5 potential categories, including airborne clutter, natural atmospheric phenomena, U.S. government or industry development programs, foreign adversary systems, or, quote, other.
White House reporter for The Hill, Alex Gangitano, joins us now to discuss. Welcome to the show, Alex.
Thanks so much for having me.
So what's your sense of which category most of these fall into?
Yeah, what's interesting, so this 9-page report kind of confirmed that there are more than 140 of these UFO sightings, or what's considered UAPs now, but only one was identified with kind of high confidence, while the others remain a mystery. And so what you just said, there's this other category, and that's one of these 5 categories that they're saying are these potential explanations. And so I think this other category is where a lot of voters and people are not going to drop this topic, because they're going to want to know, what does this other category entail? We even had, I saw on CNN this morning, NASA Administrator Bill Nelson went on and said that he feels that we might not be alone in the galaxy considering this report. So I think having this kind of unknown makes people have even more questions, that I don't think that this is the end of this conversation.
What's so interesting is that the unknown is at this point becoming more of a known unknown, because when you can separate things into 4 other categories and you can say, pretty definitively, this looks like this, this, and this, but this we have no idea what it looks like, it becomes a stronger argument that the other is not just murky and vague, it's something that is defying the sort of human laws of physics. Exclusive polling, actually, by The Hill and Harris X shows that 70% of registered voters believe the United States government has more information on unidentified aerial phenomena or UAPs than it is sharing with the public. From this report, Alex, do you get the same sense? Do you get the sense that this was sort of a way to tease and to satisfy mounting curiosity as sort of things leak, like those UAP videos you just saw on the screen, which have formally been declassified now? But do you think that as the government sort of approaches these things, some reports are a way to sort of tease things without actually really delving into more?
Yeah, I think that would make a lot of sense, because if you look at how the DNI, the Director of National Intelligence, had to start and form this report, it was because Congress demanded it last year. And so this might be kind of a first step to ease those kind of questions and say, look, here's a report. People are seeing these videos that have become unclassified. Here's something out to, get maybe people off our backs a bit here. And then now it's just going to lead to more questions. So there has to be more out of the government here, or else it kind of turns into people either coming out with conspiracy theories and more reasons why this other category is so prevalent, or people considering this a failure of our intelligence community and wondering, why we can't figure this out, or why we can't get more information out of them. And a lot of the report and people that have been pushing for a report like this are saying that there's national security concerns here. And so when that becomes, this isn't just a fun, let's figure out this world we don't know, it is something that could actually impact our national security. And so when it comes down to that, I think that the government has to come out with some more answers here. And again, that this is really just the first step.
Look, Alex, it almost feels like if the government were going to try to run a sophisticated propaganda campaign to drive up that number of people to 70%, as we showed in that Hill poll a second ago, that this is precisely what they would have done. All these series of leaks, the 60 Minutes episode, and then reports that just say other. We don't know what that is, but let's say other. So documentary filmmaker Jeremy Corbell called the public's disappointment in the report encouraging, saying, quote, "We are bearing witness to a failure of intelligence, but it's an acknowledged failure of intelligence." Is it a failure of intelligence, or is this an intelligence plot?
It's a good question. I mean, it's interesting that the government is coming out with kind of what we know and what we don't know. And that's not always a typical thing for the government to admit. Here's a bunch of things that we still have no idea. And so maybe that is encouraging that they're willing to come out and say, we still don't know what this other category is. And again, that could also lead to them wanting to look into this even more and wanting to also just keep the public perhaps informed. Maybe we will see some more videos, like you mentioned, coming out and unclassified, so that the public can keep seeing what we've heard our military troops have been seeing for years, which is these objects in the sky. I mean, why hide it at this point if this momentum has already built up, that people are already becoming aware of this? It's becoming pretty mainstream. You mentioned there was a CBS report. So this is a household phenomenon now, that it's not just, a small group of intelligence officials trying to figure out what's going on. So I think that the government must know here that people are going to have plenty of more questions coming out of this.
Yeah, you mentioned household phenomenon. I think is a perfect way to describe it, and you can't really put the genie back in the bottle at this point. To Ryan's sort of skepticism, which I think is fully understandable, a lot of the information that we are getting is coming from former Pentagon people, not exactly always the most trustworthy sources. But I think a really important counterpoint to that is the Pentagon has sort of fought tooth and nail, and the government in general, not to disclose much of this information. They've clearly tried to obstruct investigations into this, obstruct the declassification of some of this information. And Alex, you mentioned that this report itself came after the Senate asked for it. Can you speak to some of the government and the military's efforts to actually hide some of this information?
Yeah, what we saw with the CBS report, these U.S. military folks going on and saying this is something that we've known for years, and the government hasn't done anything about it or wanted to really speak on it, and we think that it's something that more people need to be talking about. I mean, Senator Marco Rubio has been a really loud voice in this. He was part of the reason why DNI even went forward with this report, and he's really come down to saying that we need to trust these military folks that are saying that this is something very real that they're seeing in the sky, because he was, one of the big champions behind requiring the report. And so I think that for years, this dates back to times when it came down to military officials saying, telling, some lower level military folks that, no, don't worry about it. You didn't see anything, and don't talk about it any further. And so I think, as you mentioned, that now the genie's kind of out of the bottle and people are talking about it. So it shows that who knows how long this has been kind of a squashed, considered a conspiracy theory, and telling people, okay, don't tell anybody further about what you saw. It was nothing, and keep it in, because it seems like there were years of that until the Senate finally said, okay, we've heard enough about this. We need actual information out there about what's going on.
Right, and Rubio has done important work on this. Alex, thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you.
We have more Rising for you coming up, but don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you can be notified every time we post new content.